Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of This Is Us Season 5, Episode 4, entitled Honestly. And honestly, this episode did very much contain a surprise that I don't think, we all had probably 1,000 theories as to how the Randall, fisherman, Laurel story could be connected. This was not on your bingo card.
No, and it wasn't on ours either. We did a video yesterday all about sort of how is Randall going to find out, and the fisherman seeing a viral video and kind of being like, Randall, Laurel, that was not any discussion that we had.
Wait. Oh, I don't know if this video's on. I'm just going to start dancing now in here. No, we're not going. Okay, the Randall dancing was probably one of the funniest. I could not stop laughing for about a minute, just seeing everyone else's and his family's reaction to his dancing.
I just loved that they brought back this sort of fun side of him, this happier side of him. He's gone down a very hard, tragic path the past year. So having this moment where he's kind of dancing around, I'm just like, oh man, I was even hitting stop on my own computer and be like, no, oh man, I can't help.
We got so much to talk about here, but I just gotta say from the start, Randall, haven't you heard enough about the investigative reporting about people and the webcams and them getting hacked by? It's you gotta at least know. Don't do this in front of a webcam, dude.
No, put a piece of tape on it. Take it, move away, go over to the side. Who starts taking their clothes off with the? No, man, no.
Randall, all right.
Oh, Randall.
Before we get any further here, if you guys enjoy this video, subscribe and give us a like. And we, of course, have so much This Is Us discussion here. We really cannot stop talking about the show. It's too good. We can't help it.
And make sure you follow us on Instagram. It's Matt and Jess TV, and we have stuff about us and This Is Us, and our dog, our cat, all kinds of stuff.
The one other thing I really have to say just about the sequence of events with Randall, beyond the fact that Randall is so secretly jacked, he is paying off that whole joke about Chidi on The Good Place a million times over with this.
I know.
But it's just, Randall's kids, how do you not have more time on your hands that you're all sitting around watching your dad's live stream?
I thought that was so cute.
It is.
That Deja watches it every day, and then Malik drops it by accident. He's like, oh no, I'm so dead. And Randall's like, oh yeah, you are. But you could see how much that warmed Randall's heart to know that his daughter is watching him every day and having that moment with him every day. I was like, that is so sweet. They've come a long way.
There was so many wholesome moments with Randall and his family that the fact that we all went eventually to Randall stripping on a live stream makes this all the more ridiculous. And then it goes from all of that to, we're 3 minutes out of the end of the episode. We're like, okay, I guess we're getting no reveals on Laurel or the fisherman dude and the granddaughter or anything else. And apparently the fisherman dude likes to check out BuzzFeed and other viral sites, which totally surprised me. I didn't think he'd be that kind of guy, but here we are.
Yeah, and I saw how many views were on that thing. It was 100,000 or something. Okay, that's viral, but that's not a viral where, what are the chances that he was going to be one of those 100,000 people when, there's millions and hundreds of millions of people that could be potentially seeing this. But here we are. The show does have some coincidences. It's not all the time, but here we are. So, moving into this, what is going to happen? It hasn't been made very clear where this fisherman lives. I've seen in the comments that somebody said that he had caught a bass and that bass are in North America, so that's possible. It wasn't very clear where he actually is.
Yeah, and I know that This Is Us and the production team, they're pretty well researched on things. I don't know if they're familiar with fish geography. If they are, kudos to them for dropping little hints here or there like that. But, this fisherman and apparently a purveyor of many fine memes said he's willing to get in on the ground floor with so many of them with this. The big takeaway is that Randall, before he got down with his bad self, he talked a little bit about William Hill and how he does so much for him, and those words clearly resonated with the fisherman a lot. And I think the obvious takeaway is that when he was with Laurel, Laurel must have spoken about William a great deal for it to stick that much in his mind.
Yeah, which then opens up even more discussion because there's been a lot of us, including me, who thought that maybe Laurel had, because she was sort of out or dead for a certain period of time, that maybe the lack of oxygen to her brain had maybe caused memory loss or something like that, that maybe when she came to, she was alive, but she didn't maybe remember who she was or where she was or what was going on or remember William. That doesn't seem to be the case now. If this fisherman is reacting to the name William Hill, what happened? Like, now I'm even more like confused. What happened that Laurel would have left her love, her kid, wouldn't have gone to look for them? I mean, Randall was able to find him. She could have found him too. So now I'm even more confused.
I am too, in a lot of different ways, because that part of it, I mean, I know we don't know Laurel that well, but it still feels like we know her well enough that she would probably at least look or think about looking or doing something.
Yeah, she loved William. They were a family. They were about to have a kid together. I mean, she clearly wanted this to be a thing. So, and now, I really am lost now.
The thing that I'm kind of going back to in my head now is, okay, if the fisherman is going to reach out to Randall at this point, I mean, obviously he's not going to talk to him about the abs, but he's going to talk to him about William and what he said. This kind of goes along with the theory that I've had that maybe she's just no longer with us, and maybe the fisherman is looking for sort of a way to connect with Laurel somehow, and maybe Randall could be that way. I think the good thing about them doing the reveal this way is that now the fisherman knows Randall's a fairly public figure. I'm guessing, like a lot of government officials, there's probably some sort of contact information on the website so he can find him and talk to him quickly if he wants to.
Yeah, because Laurel looked pregnant in that picture, which means that, you know, and the fisherman was holding her belly, so that would mean that his kid would be Randall's brother or sister. So hearing that, I'm sure at this point, the fisherman would probably want to reach out to be like, oh my goodness, my kid has a brother. Let's put that together. And I know that they're not full siblings. I mean, I have two half brothers. Yeah. They're just my brothers. Brothers are brothers.
I think Randall would obviously be thrilled to be able to connect with a certain part of his past. And I do love how they did it, because this is us sort of being like, ha ha ha, at all those people out there who kind of came up with these theories. Like, including us. Like, the therapist had nothing to do with it. We all spent like 2 whole weeks clowning ourselves thinking that the therapist was somehow either related to Laurel or was going to lead Randall down the path. The therapist wasn't even in this episode at all.
No, I really thought that that's where they were going to go with it. And I know that that seemed the most obvious, but this show is really rooted in reality and things that are very believable. And because they had already given us the Randall's mother is actually alive, which isn't that believable, I'll be honest. Like, I'm not disliking the storyline, but it is not that believable. And because this show is so rooted in reality, I thought they were going to then give us steps that made it feel like, okay, we're back sort of into the reality of how we get to his mother being alive. Not the fisherman has seen a viral video and here we are. Because now I'm also like, what is happening here with this? This is a little stretch.
It is outlandish. I will say I do prefer this than over the idea of the therapist being related to Laurel on some level. Like, that's
also a stretch.
That's like stretching it to the point where it snaps. It's like I can at least have fun with this, as like outlandish as it is. Just the idea of this fisherman hanging out on BuzzFeed every day just makes me laugh. So I'm just willing to buy it for that alone.
All right, so let's talk about Kevin. So
Okay.
This was a really heavy Kevin episode, and we had, 3 different timelines going on. So we also had lots of Jack, which was nice because we don't have as much Jack as we used to, sort of, since they've tied up how he died. It's been a little less and less and less.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to have Milo back.
It was nice to have him back. It was nice to have a good bit of screen time between, Jack and younger Kevin. And I'm so curious to hear what people think about this storyline, because I can see there being a lot of divided opinions where Jack was particularly hard on Kevin, and he was pushing him really hard to the point where I think you could make the argument of, was Jack sort of putting him into something against his will? And there were certain moments where it felt like Kevin really wanted out, but then you see Kevin studying the playbook and really getting into it with Randall. I mean, is this a situation where Jack just sort of knows Kevin better than Kevin knows himself at times, or just trying to find a way, and this is the only way that Jack knows how to communicate sort of how he wants Kevin to be the best?
Yeah, and I think after him explaining that his dad would call him the jack of all trades, master of none, that you're not really that good at anything, he, I guess, wanted to make sure that he didn't make the same mistakes. And when he was like, oh, I feel, Rebecca, you're making him too soft, that's not the same to me as you're not mastering something. Like, you can master something and have a softer side to you and still put your all into something. But I mean, that was back in that time where that would have been more of the mentality of sort of parents, of the fathers of the house. But it was interesting to see then, was Rebecca being too coddling of him? The baby's crying all the time, crying, she can't stop, to the point that Jack has to stand in front of the door and be like, nope, we are trying something else because everything that you've been doing and I've been doing has not been working. But it was such a nice moment where he explained that story to Rebecca, that his dad did this to him, and that she was kind of like, okay, but he clearly missed out on who you are and that you are making an impact. And then having that moment where she's like, yeah, I just saw him in there studying and they're high-fiving, and that card system works. When I was in college, I did the exact same thing for my anatomy class, and it works. So it was cool to see that. And then into, we know that Kevin and Randall are not speaking, but he's still using what his brother taught him to get through this really hard director.
This was the brilliance of This Is Us, really, because they were able to thread in like so many different things into one little storyline here, whether it be, the issues that Kevin has been having and sort of proving himself and how hard he wants to work for things that he wants. And I think ultimately I think Kevin is Kevin because he had the tutelage of his father, but also the approach of his mother. I think if he had only one of them, it would have been too much in either direction. They balance each other out. And I really liked how they connected in that Randall conflict and that he's still using it. Because, yeah, this director, I think he signed it Foster at the end, so I think we can call him Foster. This is a weird dude. Like, that's all I gotta say about this guy.
Yeah, it was interesting because when he came onto the scene, he didn't even acknowledge Kevin, was kind of giving him a really hard time, and then at the end of it was just like, yeah, you're good, and when you die, people will be like, yeah, he was good, but this is your chance to change from being good to excellent. I had wondered if, because the director had come in and said, oh man, you though, I was not going to do this movie without you. Yeah, I wasn't going to do this movie without you. That maybe it was the producers were like, you're also having Kevin Pearson on this. So just so you know, you can have her. You want her on as an actress? Cool. Here's your compromise. You're going to work with Kevin Pearson. He was like, all right, I guess so. He's good, but whatever. Because, directors don't have all the say on their cast.
That's kind of what I thought was going on for that little while, too. Like, it just felt like, okay, this guy clearly does not want Kevin to be in this movie. He clearly wanted this actress, because it's all he's doing is complimenting her.
Yeah, and I think it was a fair question for Kevin afterwards when he walked out and he was like, listen, like, I need feedback from you because that is your job as a director.
Yeah.
If the actor's not doing something right, the director is supposed to tell them, I need more of this, I need less this, I need this, I don't need this. That is their job. He's not giving anything to Kevin, so it was a fair question. But to have this director be like, what do you want, an attaboy? That's not what he's asking. He's actually asking you, Foster, to do your job.
Yeah. Foster, you're being too eccentric. Like, I don't know if this is it's weird that this is like This Is Us' perception of Hollywood, and like maybe there are a lot of directors that the casting crew know who are just kind of weird like this. I don't know.
I kind of wish that basket that Foster had sent him that said attaboy happened afterwards, that Kevin actually did something, that it wasn't just he sent it to him for kind of no reason.
Yeah, it didn't feel like there was any real payoff unless, like, he had, they had communicated in some other way, and then Foster decided to do that.
I wish they had just shown us just one more scene where maybe Kevin got something exactly right, that the director was like, oh, there is something here that I see in him that's more than just his abs. Attaboy.
Was it weird to you at all that Madison was just kind of MIA for all of this?
No.
Yeah, I will say I missed it just because I saw so much of her in the last couple of episodes, and I think it was more than anything else. I just wanted to know where she was, like what she was doing, what was going on.
I was okay with it because, I mean, this story is about the big three and their family. And, we get some of Toby, obviously, and, we get some of the other people that are going in, some Beth or whatever. But this is still a newer relationship, and we're still in with Kevin the actor and Kevin this part of this family, and then he's still getting to know Madison. So I was okay to have a bit of a deeper dive into his career after that big talk with Madison about his own body image, and now he's in with this director where he's kind of got this different frame of mind, and I'm gonna wow this guy, and this guy ain't budging.
No, he's not. The part of this episode, I think there's obviously a big Kate conversation to have.
Yeah.
And it's interesting where I think the Randall thing all came completely off guard. No one could have seen that coming. I think a lot of people saw this coming with Kate in some shape or form, where Chrissy Metz said there was a story coming up that, was going to be a part of Kate's past that hadn't been explored. They obviously gave us all this with this jerk Mark last season for a reason, and now this is it. Kate is, based on that test, Kate is pregnant, or she was pregnant.
Yeah, and I mean, she doesn't have a kid, so either she lost it or she went and terminated the pregnancy, because she said, my mom doesn't know, my brothers don't know, you, Toby, also don't know, nobody knows, so now I'm telling you. And I had wondered what was actually going to happen when younger Kate was like, no, I've decided I'm not coming with you guys to New York. I'm going to stay back. I actually didn't expect that it was going to go into pregnancy. I thought it was just going to go into, she's going to go back to Mark, and this is just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse.
I did think that was a possibility for sure. I was kind of dancing in my head between 50-50. It was either going to be a pregnancy, or it was going to be, she was going to go downstairs and Mark was going to be there, or whatever else. And I think either one of them, it would have made some sense within the context of the story. I think even now, we can't rule out the possibility, as much as I don't want to see him again, but we can't rule out that Mark somehow resurfaces still after all of this.
Yeah, it's not that often that people are in these types of relationships where there's abuse going on, and then the first time they're out. That type of relationships takes steps to get worse and worse and worse and worse, so that you're then so far into it that you didn't even see what was happening until you're already drowning in it. So having your mother and your brothers come up and be like, get out of here or else sort of thing, I can see that it might take a couple of missteps from Kate to finally be able to be like, okay, I'm out of it. But now that we know that she had a pregnancy, it may be even harder for her to get out of it, that she may be like, oh man, I'm really on my own on this. I do not want to tell my mom about this. I do not want to tell my brothers about this. The only person I can go to, or I think I can go to, is Mark.
And that's tough. That's bad. I don't think Mark clearly does not have her best interest at heart.
No.
And he's going to probably make things so much worse for her. And if she's completely and totally alone, that's difficult and devastating to have to deal with by yourself, and having to make these huge adult decisions when you're still so young.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting story, seeing sort of how this plays into Kate and what's going on in the adoption in the present.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that Kate is getting sort of a more meatier story, because Kevin's got a really meaty story, Randall's got a very meaty story, and Kate was just kind of like, oh, and we're going along with adoption.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have something that's more positive and fun. But at the same time, I'm like, man, these guys are getting such great material. I want more for Kate. I want more. I really like Chrissy a lot, and I like what she's been doing, and I just want to see her have more material. So here we are.
They really faked me out with that promo for this episode where they showed Kate being like, are you having second thoughts?
Yeah.
And it was really just like, oh, you want to name the kid Chloe, and there was a person named Chloe in my life. That was awful. We do know this. That kid that was in the future, Jack Damon's sister, I guess, her name was Haley. It was not Chloe.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe this woman decided to, convince Kate to use another name. So who knows? I mean, I still feel like when they were signing the papers earlier in the episode, and they were very clear to us as the audience that this woman can back out at any time, before or after, for however long, I guess she's able to back out of this, and so can they. So there is still time for this to go sideways.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to go in a straight line. Nothing in the world of This Is Us really ever does, but I'm still not convinced that this is where we end up meeting Jack Damon's sibling. Like, I'm not there yet.
No, I'm still convinced, and I have no proof of this whatsoever, that Kate is going to end up with her own big three, but they're all going to be different ages. That when she's adopting, she's also going to get pregnant again, and she'll have three of her own. That's what I want for Kate. So that's what I'm putting out into the universe.
And I could definitely see it. I really enjoyed this episode a lot. I think we got a lot of interesting stuff. The Randall and Malik stuff was just pure comedy.
It was such a joy. Those two actors really play off each other so well. They both sort of, the writing for them, that they both kind of have that same sense of like humor, of like dad humor, which is so funny because Malik, he's a dad, but he's a young dad, but he's already sort of there with the dad jokes with Randall. And it's just, man, their relationship is really cute. It's so wholesome.
I gotta say, I've never related to Randall more than when he started doing the rhymes with Gandalf Gearson thing.
I know, right? We do that all the time, except we rhyme it with M's.
Yeah, like, Randall, I see you, I feel you, I understand perfectly, but, of course, now we have to hear from you guys. What did you think about this episode? What do you think the fisherman is gonna do now? And where do you think Kate's story is going from here? Share in the comments, and of course, if you like this video, subscribe for more. Hit that notification bell and support us further by checking those links to the store, our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.